Hello everyone. This video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions. My name is Arvind from the Department of CSE. In this video, I'll be talking about object-oriented analysis and design. Here, the first two units we are referring from this book called Object-Oriented Analysis and Design with Applications, third edition by Grade Booch. So if you are watching my videos and if you like my videos, please do subscribe and press the bell icon in my channel for the latest updates. In this video, we will discuss about complexity, the structure of complex systems, the inherent complexity of the software, the 5 attributes of the complex system, organized and disorganized complexity, bringing order to chaos, on designing complex systems. Now let us see the concepts of object-oriented analysis and design. In the early days of object technology, many people were initially introduced to object-oriented through programming languages. They discovered what these new languages could do for them and tried to practically apply the languages to solve the real-world problems. As time passed, languages got improved, development techniques evolved, best practices emerged, and formal object-oriented methodologies were created. We know that the Unified Modeling Language, UML, is inherently an object-oriented language, and it was being designed for the use in object-oriented software applications. So these applications could be based on object-oriented technologies recommended by the Object Management Group OMG, which owns the UML group. So the initial version of the UML 1.x was based on 3 leading object-oriented methods. One is Booch methods, OMT and OOSC. And UML 2.x is still an object-oriented in its core. So to understand and use UML as intended by its authors, software architects and developers should be familiar with general concepts and methods of object-oriented analysis and design, that is OOAD, or of the object-oriented development, OOD. Today, the object-oriented development is a rich and powerful development model. So this session takes a step back to look at the underpinning theory that supplies the foundation for the above and provides insight into why things work the way they do in the object-oriented paradigm. Now let us see the complexity. So systems are connected by interconnecting components, boundaries, environment, characters, emergent properties, which may well be systems in their own right. The larger the number of these components and relationship between them, higher will be the complexity of the overall system. So here, the systems that are complex have different properties that arise from their relationships such as non-linearity, emergency, spontaneous order, adaptation, and feedback loops. So here, the software complexity is a way to describe a specific set of characteristics. Here, all focus on how your code and it interacts with the other pieces of the code. So the measurement of these characteristics is what determines the complexity of your code. It is a lot like a software quality graded for your code. So a system that embodies one or more software subsystems which contribute to or control the significant part of the overall behavior is what we call as software intensive systems. So here a software system will be said complex when emergent properties can be inferred from it. So the complexity of system just means that we do not benefit from the complex knowledge of subsystems we have. So to analyze the behavior of the large systems, we observe so many inherent complexities for 4 elements. One is the complexity of the problem domain, the difficulty of managing development process, the flexibility possible through software, and the problems of characterizing the behavior of discrete systems. So complexity depends on number of components embedded in them, as well as the relationships and the interconnection between these components which carry. So here, the impossible for human to comprehend fully are the difficulties to document and test, potential inconsistent or incomplete applications, or the projects that are subjected to change frequently, or the number of fundamental laws to explain the phenomena and approaches. So when there are no fundamental laws to explain the phenomena and approaches, there we face the complex problems. Let us see the structure of complex systems. Since the underlying problem springs from the inherent complexity of the software, we need to first understand how complex systems in other disciplines are organized. Indeed, we need to open our eyes to the world about us so that we will observe successful systems of significant complexity. Let us consider the first one, the structure of personal computers. A personal computer is a device of moderate complexity. Major elements are CPU, monitor, keyboard, and some secondary storage devices. CPU encompasses primary memory, arithmetic logical unit, and a bus to which the peripheral devices are attached. An arithmetic logical unit may be divided into registers, which are constructed from NAND gates, inverters, and so on. So all are the hierarchical nature of the complex system. Here we see the hierarchical nature of the complex system. A personal computer functions properly only because of the collaborative activity of each of its major parts. Together, these separate parts logically form a whole. Indeed, we can reason about how a computer works only because we can decompose it into parts that we can study separately. Thus, we may study the operations of monitors independently of the operations of the hard disk drive. Similarly, we may study the arithmetic logical unit without regarding for the primary memory unit. Now coming to the structure of plants. Plants are complex multicellular organisms which are composed of cells, which in turn encompasses elements such as chloroplasts, nucleus, and so on. For example, at the highest level of abstraction, roots are responsible for absorbing water and minerals from the soil. These roots interact with the stems, which transport these raw materials up to the leaves. The leaves in turn use the water and minerals provided by the stems to produce food through photosynthesis. Now coming to the structure of animals. Animals exhibit a multicellular hierarchical structure in which the collection of cells form tissues. Tissues work together as organs, and these cluster of organs define the system such as the digestive system and so on. And coming to the structure of matter, nuclear physicists are concerned with the structural hierarchy of matter. We know that atoms are made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons, and electrons are elementary particles, but protons, neutrons, and other particles are formed from more basic components called quarks, which eventually formed from proquarks. Again, we find a great commonality in the form of shared mechanisms, which unifies the vast hierarchy. Specifically, these appear to be only 4 distinct kinds of forces at work in the universe. One is gravity, second one is electromagnetic interactions, third one is the strong force, and fourth one is the weak force. So here, many laws of physics involving these elementary forces, such as law of conservation of energy and of momentum, and apply to the galaxies as well as quarks. Now coming to the structure of social institutions. In social institutions, group of people join together to accomplish a task that cannot be done by or made of divisions, which in turn contain branches and which in turn encompasses local offices and so on. That is, the relationships among the various parts of these large organizations are just like those found among the components of a computer or a plant or animals or even galaxy. Now, let us see the inherent complexity of the software. So, the properties of a complex and simple software systems. Here, the softwares may involve elements of great complexities, which is of different kind. Some software systems are simple. So these are largely forgettable applications that are specified, constructed, or maintained and used by the same person, usually the amateur programmer or the professional developer working in an isolation. So such a system tends to have a very limited purpose and a very short lifespan. So we can afford to throw them away and replace them with entirely new software system rather than attempting to reuse them, repair them, or extend their functionalities. Such applications are generally more tedious than difficult to develop. So consequently, learning how to design them does not interest us. Here, if you are using a computer for your personal use, or if your computer is a desktop computer for your own use, if any problems in those applications what you are using in your desktop computer, then it is not a big problem, because it is not going to affect anybody in the society, and it has nothing to do with others except you. So in such cases, it is better to replace with a new system or a new application rather than going for repairing them and extending their functionalities. Whereas this is not the case with the complex systems. Here some systems are complex. So the applications that exhibit a very rich set of behavior, as for example, in reactive systems that drive or driven by events in a physical world, and for which time and space are scarce resource. So applications that maintain the integrity of hundreds and thousands of records of information while allowing concurrent updates and queries, and systems for the command and control of the real world entities such as routing of air or railway traffic. So here, coming to railways, it has so much of information, huge bulk, so big data. So this data can be the reservations what you have made, the dates on which the reservation is made, by whom, and what is the berth number or seat number allotted to him, what is the coach, what is the name of the train. So all these informations will be stored in some servers. If a problem arises to such servers, then it is a big problem, because it is going to affect the entire system. Because if any information is lost, nobody knows how many seats are being reserved, by whom, and whether to allot a particular seat to others or not, because the information is being lost. So to overcome this, software systems such as world of industrial strength software tends to have a long lifespan and overtime. So many users come to depend on their proper functioning. For this reason, we started using mainframe servers, and after September 2001, we started having backups of those mainframe servers. So here, the framework that simplifies the creation of domain-specific applications and programs that mimic some aspects of human intelligence. Although such applications are generally products of research and development, they are no less complex, for they are the means and artifacts of incremental and exploratory development. Now, why software is inherently complex? So here, the complexity of software is an essential property, not an accidental one. The inherent complexity derives from four elements: the complexity of the problem domain, the difficulty of managing the development process, the flexibility possible through software, and the problem of characterizing the behavior of discrete systems. The complexity of the problem domain. The first reason has to do with the relationships between the application domain for which the software systems are being constructed and the people who develop them. Often, although software developers have the knowledge and skills required to develop the software, they usually lack detailed knowledge of the application domain of such systems. So this affects their ability to understand and express accurately the requirements for the system to build, which comes from the particular domain. Second one, the difficulty of managing the development process. So the second reason is the complexity of the software development process. Here, the complex software intensive systems cannot be developed by the single individual. They require a team of developers. So this adds an extra overhead to process, since the developers have to communicate with each other about the intermediate artifacts they produce and make them interoperable with each other. Coming to the third one, the flexibility possible through software. We know that software is flexible and expensive, and thus encourages highly demanding requirements, which in turn lead to complex implementation which are difficult to assess. So the third reason is the danger of flexibility. Here, the flexibility leads to an attitude where developers develop system components themselves rather than purchasing them from software from somewhere else. Coming to the fourth one, the problem of characterizing the behavior of discrete systems. So the final reason for the complexity, according to the Booch, is related to the difficulty in describing the behavior of the software system. Of course, humans are capable of describing the static structure and properties of the complex systems if they are properly decomposed. But they have several problems in describing their behavior. This is because to describe the behavior, it is not sufficient to list the properties of the system. it is also necessary to describe the sequence of the values that the properties take over time. Now, let us see the attributes of the complex system. Here there are 5 attributes common to all the complex systems. The first attribute is hierarchical and interacting subsystems. Firstly, every complex system is decomposed into a hierarchy of subsystems. So this decomposition is essential in order to keep the complexity of the overall system manageable. So these subsystems, however, are not isolated from each other, but interact with each other. Coming to the second attribute, arbitrary determination of primitive components. It is regarding the nature of the primitive components of a complex system or our experiences that suggest the choice of what components in a system are primitive is relatively arbitrary and is largely upon the description of the observer of the system. So what is primitive for one observer may be at a much higher level of abstraction for an other observer. Coming to the third attribute, stronger intra-components than inter-component links. So here, intra-component linkages are generally stronger than inter-component linkages. This fact has the involving the high frequency dynamics of the components, involving the internal structure of the components, from the low frequency dynamics involving interaction among the components. And coming to the fourth attribute, combine and arrange common rearranging subsystems. Here the hierarchical systems are usually composed of only a few different kinds of subsystems in various combinations and arrangements. In other words, complex systems have common patterns, and these patterns may involve the reuse of small components such as cells found in both plants or animals, or of large structures such as vascular systems also found in both plants and animals. And the final attribute, that is evolution for simple to complex systems. So a complex system that works is invariably bound to have evolved from simple system that worked. A complex system designed from scratch never works and cannot be patched up to make it work. So you have to start over beginning with a working simple system. Organizing and disorganizing complexity. So one mechanism to simplify concerns in order to make them more manageable is to identify and understand the abstractions common to similar objects or activities. For example, take car. The common abstractions in this particular example car would be clutch, accelerator and brakes. So all these are common to all the motor vehicles which are also for the car. And another principle to understand the complex system is the separation of concerns leading to multiple hierarchies that are orthogonal to each other. Again, take the same example of the car. Here, the physical structure of the car is the body or the engine, so on. And coming to the functions of the car, The car can move forward, backward, or it can take a turn. And coming to the control structure of the car, the structure of the car can be manually operated or mechanically operated or electrically operated. So these are the different multi-orthogonal hierarchies based on which we can structure and control the system. Coming to the prominent hierarchies in object-oriented. In object orientation, the class structure and the object structure relationships is the simplest form of related hierarchy. So it forms a canonical representation for object-oriented analysis. Here the classes, class structure and object structure and the relationship between these classes and objects plays a major role in object-oriented based systems. Bringing order to chaos. At the start of a development project for a large complex software systems, you don't have a lot of information, nor you don't know a lot about the domain what you are using. But yet you are expected to make or implement so many decisions regarding the non-functional requirements, and you need to process on decomposing the problem domain into manageable pieces or progress on identifying the features of the systems under the design. So the principles that will provide the basis for this development is abstraction, hierarchy, and decomposition. Now let us see the role of abstraction. Here, abstraction is an exponentially powerful technique for dealing with complexity. Unable to master the entirely of the complex objects, we choose to ignore the inessential details, instead dealing with the generalized, idealized model of the object. For example, when studying how photosynthesis works in a plant, we can focus on chemical reactions in certain cells in a leaf and ignore all the other parts such as the roots and stem. We are still constrained by the number of things that we can comprehend at one time. But this is through abstraction. Here we use chunks of information with increasingly great semantic content. This is especially true if we take an object-oriented view of the world as abstraction of entities in the real world, which represent particularly based on the design and cohesive clustering of implementation. And coming to the role of hierarchy, this is another way to increase the semantic content of the individual chunks of information, which is by explicitly recognizing the classes and object hierarchies within the complex software system. Here, we need to identify the hierarchies within a complex software system, which makes understanding of the system very simple. So the object structure is important because it illustrates how different objects collaborate with one another through patterns of interactions called mechanisms. By classifying objects into groups of related abstractions, for example, kinds of plant cells versus animal cells, we come to explicitly distinguish the common and distinct properties of different objects which helps us to master their inherent complexity. So here, identifying the hierarchies with a complex software system is often not easy because it requires the discovery of patterns among many objects, each of which may contain some tremendous complicated behavior. Whereas coming to the role of decomposition, decomposition is important techniques for copying with complexity based on the idea of divide and conquer. In dividing a problem into a subproblem, the problem becomes less complex and easier to overlook and to deal with. So here, repeatedly dividing a problem will eventually lead to subproblems that are smaller enough so that they can be easily conquered. After all the subproblems have been conquered and the solutions to them have been found, these solutions need to be composed in order to obtain the solution for the whole problem. Let us see the on-design complex system. So the practice of every engineering discipline, be it is a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer or a chemical engineer or an electrical engineer or an electronics engineer or a software engineer, involves elements of both science and art. Here, the role of engineer as artist is particularly challenging when the task is to design an entirely new system, especially in the case of reactive systems and the systems for command and control. We are frequently asking to write a software for an extremely unique set of requirements, often to be executed on a configuration of the target processors constructed specifically for that systems. Here, we need to understand the meaning of the design. In every engineering discipline, design encompasses the disciplined approach we use to invent a solution for some problem, thus providing a path from requirements to implementation. Here, the purpose of design is to construct a system that satisfies a given informal functional specifications, or that conforms the limitations of the target medium, that meets the implicit and explicit requirements, or which satisfies implicit and explicit design, and finally, if it satisfies restrictions on design process itself, such as length or cost are available for doing the design. According to Stroudstrup, the process of design is to create a clean and relatively simple internal structure, sometimes also called as an architecture. A design is to end the product of the design process. Now, the importance of the model design is the building of models have a broad acceptance among all the engineering disciplines, largely because model building appeals to the principles of decomposition, abstraction, and hierarchy. Each model within a design describes a specific aspect of the system under consideration. So models give us the opportunity to fail under controlled conditions. So we evaluate each model under both expected and unusual situations, and then after when they fail to behave as we expect or desire. So more than one kind of model is used in order to express all subtitles of a complex system. And here, coming to the elements of the software design methods, design of complex software systems involves an incremental and iterative process with each model including the following. One is notations, that is the language for expressing each model. Process, the activities leading to the orderly construction of the system's mode. Tools, these are the artifacts that eliminate the medium of model building and enforces rules about models themselves so that errors and inconsistencies can be exposed. So the sound design method is based on the solid theoretical foundations, which yet offers degree of freedom for artistic innovation. Here, the models of object-oriented development, the models of object-oriented analysis and design reflects the importance of explicitly capturing both the classes and object hierarchies of the system under the design. So these models also over the spectrum of the important design decisions that we must consider in developing a complex system, and so encourages us to craft implementations that embody the 5 attributes of the well-formed complex systems. Thank you all.